Um, and we're going to record this. Mo, you've got the show. Let's make sure you're unmuted.
I think I am. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Mo, and I am an alcoholic addict. Great to be here. It's always a privilege to be able to share. And I want to thank you, Robert, for being so kind enough to ask me. I look at sharing my story is always a privilege. It's something that, I enjoy doing it. And I hope that someone is going to get something out of it. It's who I am. My name is Mo S. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I've been married for 43 years now. I still question the state of my wife's mind, why the hell she's still sticking with me. Anybody with right mind, wouldn't do that, but I am so grateful she did that. Because of her and my kids and their love, I'm here today. I have two daughters. Both of them are grown up, and both of them they're very successful at what they do. And that itself, it's a huge gift for me, and I'm grateful for that. Talking about myself, I am from Iran. I came here in 1978, and I wasn't planning to stay in the States, but the revolution in Iran happened. Those of you who remember, in 1978, 79 actually, that the Shah left, and we ended up with a bunch of Quran biting, Bible biting, meaning, these are Quran beating, clergies that they are running the country. Unfortunately, we're going through a lot of, turmoil right now, but hopefully things are going to get better. At the age 7, one of the things is, I was diagnosed with my ADD, ADHD, and a mild case of dyslexia. Nobody knew about that, except I knew that, I had something wrong with me. And I always wanted to feel better. I always felt that, there's something there that I couldn't figure that out. Other people were happy, other kids were happy. And I wanted to belong, to be a part of them, but somehow I couldn't. Until the age of 7, I found cigarettes. And those of you who start smoking cigarettes, when you do it, the first time, particularly when you do a few of them, you start to feel differently, dizzy or whatever. And I started to feel good, to be honest with you. Then at the age of 11, I started to smoke opium. Opium is a drug that obviously is the mother of everything. And back home, it's socially accepted, particularly people who are past their 60s, they use that as a crutch to say that, well, I have some pain in my leg or whatever. They start to use the damn thing, and before they know it, they're addicted at a later age, but they stick with it until they die. And at the age of 14, I found alcohol, which it was absolutely different. It was a game breaker, and I enjoyed all three of them. By the time I graduated from high school, I was a full-blown alcoholic addict. And nothing has been lifted from me to this day. I still like my alcohol, I still like my drugs, but somehow the consequences are way worse than, the enjoyment that I have from the alcohol and drugs. So I don't do them anymore. And because of that, I'm very happy. I cannot believe the life that I have today. I cannot believe that, people that they used to run away from me, they accepted me. My very birthday coming this Sunday, and this past Saturday night, my daughter and my wife, my in-laws, they decided to take me for dinner. And we had a great dinner, and right after that, my daughter goes to the waitress, and before anybody knows, she pays for the dinner. And I just started to think that people not too long ago they ran away from me. They were hiding from me. They didn't put their wallets around me because that's who I was today. Because of the 12-step program, I have a life that I am very grateful for. But this is not for me. This is not what I'm done. It's a lifestyle that I accepted. Because when I look at it, I don't look at my sobriety as a chore. I look at my sobriety as a gift that I have it and I need to work on it on a daily basis. It's like anything else. If I want to stay in shape, I have to do some exercise. If I want to stay sober, I have to do what I need to do to stay sober and remind myself where I came from. My story is not that much different than a lot of other people, except I have a little bit of different details and I got here in different ways. But my way wasn't that bad. I wasn't, my story is not that I was under the bridge or on a bench in the park. None of those things. I was very lucky. I have a loving family, even during the time that I really, I was a tsunami, and then they still accepted me. They still worked with me, and where I am today, it's not something that I take it for granted. I feel that, it's something that I have a responsibility today. I feel as an addict and alcoholic. If I say I am an addict and alcoholic and I start to come to these meetings, I need to really practice those principles. I really need to get with, not to forget that, we have a friend in Boise that he says that if I don't give it away, I'm stealing that. And I don't want to be a thief. That business of mine is already done. I am done with that. So today, particularly at my age right now, I am not that old, but 67, I'm not going up the hill, I'm going down the hill. So I need to be very careful what I do. When I came here, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get some information. That's my first time around. And I just stopped at the information. I didn't learn anything. I did not listen. And something that I always went back and forth to say, why should I listen to a bunch of drunks and addicts? Are they better than me? And I realized the second time, I better listen to you folks. I better pay attention to where you came from, where you are, and how you do your sobriety. And basically, the information has changed to a transformation. I have been transformed. I have not changed, but I am doing a different way of living today, which is great. And by helping other people, I'm definitely helping myself more than anybody else. It's something that we say it in these meetings and in other fellowships. But for me, I am experiencing that on a daily basis, that when I do something, it makes me feel better. I have this old timer that he always says he has a lot of sobrieties, not of 40 years. He said, if you want to feel good, go out there, do something good for someone, and don't tell anybody. And you're going to feel good about yourself. And he's, at least in my case, I've done that, and I feel very good about where I am. In any case, at the age of 19, I joined the Shah's army. In order for me to get out of my country, I had to do either, there was an exam that I passed it, but it was too late, but I had to go through 2 years of mandatory army, which I did. And during that time, it was a party time. Just both my diseases, they progress so bad that, I wanted to get out of Iran. And I thought, by moving from there, I'm going to get better, which it was not the case. I came here, I have an uncle, my mom's brother, who is a physician here. And I came here to visit him. Then the revolution happened. I stayed here. Then I went to Kent State. And being in Kent State, those of you who remember, in 1970, there was a there was a shooting of 4 students, they died. So, it's a party town. It's a city that because of those things that happened now, everybody was doing drugs. So it was heaven for me. I started to not just use them, I started to be an entrepreneur. I started to sell some of that, which I don't know how I got away with that. I finally graduated, and I ended up to work for a custom house broker, which basically what custom houses are, for those of you who don't know, in order to get products in United States or out of United States, you have to go through customs, and there are a lot of paperwork involved. And that was a cushy job. It was 9 to 5, and at 5:05, I was in the bar next door and doing my stuff. So it went on until then. In 1980, I married my wife. Both of us, we were students and we didn't know any better. So we got married, and I'm very grateful we didn't have any kids until 1987. And when I started, during those 7 years, I was working, but I was doing all of my stuff. I was drinking, drugging on the weekends, particularly it was very bad. My first daughter was born in 1987. That's the time I am an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I started to become a workaholic. I worked hard and I was very successful. And on the weekends or whenever I had time, I would do hard party. And it went on, until 2004. 2004, and I was very successful. I had 28 retail locations. I had 200 people working under me. Actually, I don't believe that you don't manage human being, you lead human being. And I think at that time I was a decent leader. In 2004, I had a very bad accident, and that's what everything came to a head. I almost died. I lost my memory. I had a frontal lobe hit, which basically I lost my memory for 2 weeks. I didn't know where I was. But in 2 weeks, I came back, but they say I was talking. I don't remember any of it, but I was at 50%. So I would look at Robert. I didn't remember Robert's name, but I knew him. And I would just play it around, play it up, say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Until someone says Robert, then I would say, oh, his name is Robert. And then depression came along, and that was nasty. And I'll tell you this, I hate depression. It's something that I hear today, some people, particularly this time of year, they talk about suicide. And I was in that mode. And suicide today, I learned that it's a permanent solution to a temporary bad or negative feelings. The feelings come and go, but when you kill yourself, you never come back. So today, I try to, particularly this time of year, I try to send that message to people to say, please, if you need help, go get help. And then I had my psychiatrist became my pill doctor, my pain management doctor. So I started with Darvocet. I graduated to oxytherapy before I knew it. And from 2006, I really damaged a lot of stuff. I wasn't kind to my family. I did a lot of things that I am not happy about. I'm embarrassed about. But the worst thing happens that I ended up my daughter, when she graduated from high school, she didn't want to stick around. So she went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. She went to University of New Mexico, UNM. And when she graduated, and during the time I used to go there, and I sometimes I wouldn't get there because I would end up in jail. I would end up, in reservation in some sort of, sheriff's office for weeks. So she finally graduated, and we decided to give her a car. She always liked the car that we were driving. She said, you know what, let's give it to her. And I said, well, I'm going to drive the car there. And Mo driving the car, he couldn't just drive the car, he had to do his shtick. So I ended up having about a pound of weed and over an ounce of blow. I'm driving, and I went to this place. It's make the long story short. I went to this, and I'm high the whole time. I'm just driving there. I stayed in St. Louis the first night, and even I had to fight in the casino, but I ended up to get in my car, start to drive towards Amarillo, Texas. But the problem was I had a case in Oklahoma that I didn't want to go to Oklahoma. So I said, I'm going to go around. And it's about maybe 10 miles if I go to Kansas, around that area, I can get to Texas without going to Oklahoma. But it's about, maybe 20 miles that I had to stay in Oklahoma. So I'm driving, it's late at night. I see the sign that says Tex. I didn't read the rest of it. I always do. My wife says, read the whole freaking thing, which I don't. It was Texahoma. It's half of the cities in Texas, half in Oklahoma. So I go to this little pantry and I'm talking to everyone. And that's the time that those of you who are in sports, I live in Cleveland. LeBron James was here, so everybody is excited. And I have this hat, LeBron James. This kid was there with his mother, and he said, "Hey, he's a good player." I say, "Yeah, I live in Cleveland." And we start to talk. And those of you who know Oklahoma and that area, they're very conservative, and they don't like to see anything except white bread. And I wasn't one of them. I was a brown man hanging around, the place that I shouldn't be hanging around with. So this lady happened to live next to the sheriff. So she gets a little bit upset that his kid is talking to me, says, let's go. They leave, and I'm still talking, nobody's there. I'm talking to the attendant. And he said, well, I am a rocker. I hate this city. I want to go someplace bigger. I said, well, I'm driving. I'm going to Albuquerque. And at that time, my daughter was working with some of the filmmakers. I said, you know what? I know some people. I can introduce you to a few people. And he said, well, I can't do it because of my mother. I said, you know what? You're right. You need to stay with your mom. We were talking, and he started to say, hey, I smell that, smell that weed. I say, yeah, I have everything in the car. Being so stupid, I'm just offering drugs to someone that even I don't know. So as I'm talking to him, he said, just get the hell out of here. So what are you talking about? This is my car. 2 cruisers came like that. And they pretended that they're coming to the shop. I got in my car, and I started to I floored that I'm running away. And they run after me. And then they're saying that you, red Honda from Ohio, pulled over. I said, not tonight. I knew that. In Oklahoma back then, if you killed someone, you could get away. But if you had drugs, there was no way. They would throw you in the slammer, and they would throw the keys away. So I was running, and I saw some red and blue and white lights. I said, oh, shoot, this is a spike tag that they throw it, on the ground. So, and Oklahoma is very flat. So I ran around it, and I'm still going. And now they're not just 1 or 2, there are a bunch of them behind me. So I see this says Texas. I said, oh, great, I'm in Texas. It even didn't last 2 seconds. I see a sea of lights. I said, this is not good. And before I knew that, I heard bang, 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 and my car stopped. They were shooting at my car, and they were shooting close to my gas tank. They wanted to just blow my ass up because, it's easier to say, hey, this guy is running away. And we didn't have any choice. We had to just get rid of them. But if they get you alive, now it's going to go to the lawyers, which happened in my case. But they had fun. They just got me in. They threw me on the ground. They were just beating the shit out of me. And I still didn't learn my lesson. They threw me in a jail, in Texas. And it was a hole. And the jailer was one of those guys, they probably hired him from the streets. You know, the guy didn't have any teeth, lots of tattoos. I said, well, I need my medication. I am in the jail and I get my Percocet, my oxys, and I got my there was something else that I think at that time I was taking something else. It was Schedule 3. So even in jail, I said, oh, you know, I can get away with a lot of shit. Yeah, they beat me up, but you know, I'm okay. But the way that they did that to me, it was so nasty that my left hand, the way that they cuffed me, and my left hand was black and blue for about 3 months, and I couldn't move any of my fingers for about 6 months. I had to go to therapy and everything else to get it better. So this is the time that I was supposed to be a happy time for my family. The reason I'm saying this, that you know, that what drug has done to me, that you know, I even didn't care about my family, about my friends, about anybody. So I get there, and I was lucky that the day that she was graduated, they get me out of the jail, and that whole dilemma cost me over $30,000 to just get out of it, and I had to stay even because I wasn't in Oklahoma, I was in Ohio, so I had to be on parole for almost 3 years. And being on the parole, as most of you know, you do one thing wrong, they send you back to where you came from, and they will be in the slammer again. So, but I was lucky to make it to my daughter's graduation. She was valedictorian, and then that's how embarrassing it was for her and her friends. But it didn't stop there. Between 2006 and 2012, my doctor, my psychiatrist, wrote over 14,000 oxytherapies that they knew about. It's December 17, 2012. At the night before I'm out, I come home about 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm sleeping. My daughter comes in about 9 o'clock, knocks on the door, said, "Dad, get up." I said, "Well, why? Let me get up a little bit later." Said, "Dad, you need to get up. There's some people in the living room waiting for you." I'm still, delusional. I don't know what's going on. I walk to the living room. I see a bunch of, officers are standing there. There's one guy with a pharmacy rope, and he had the biggest gun on him. He's from pharmacy board. That somehow they found out that getting that much, that many, pills, you have to have a plan. Because I was going from almost close to Pennsylvania to southern Ohio, and I had all kinds of, schedule who I should go to see. And my doctor, I was paying her $100 a script, and every week she was writing 6 scripts for me. Which back then, today you can't do any of that crap. But back then it wasn't that, people did not know that much about, and pharma was pushing the drugs out. They wanted to sell them. So, and these doctors, they were being compensated, not cash, but they would take them to Hawaii or whatever. So I was one of them. My doctor was one of them. So make the long story short, that day they came in, they threw some paper at me. They said, "Hey, you need to come. Either we're going to appoint you an attorney, or you can pick up, talk to your attorney." So make the long story short, that's the time that it really started to hit the fan. So for 2 years, I fought it. I couldn't get rid of it. So I ended up go to a penitentiary. There's a lot of stuff that's happening between. I don't want to go through details. So I end up going there. And I was very lucky that I was supposed to stay there for 3 years. Actually, the sentence for that kind of, that many oxys was 16 and a half years, because they count that as actual heroin. They measure that like heroin. So I end up to spend, they told me 2 years mandatory, 2 years on parole. But the judge was very kind, gave me 2 years in jail and 3 years mandatory on board. Then there's a problem. There's a program in Ohio. They call it IOP, in prison program. So I ended up to serve all of my sentence. It was about 11 months. So I come out of there. I still haven't learned my lesson. I'm still doing my stuff until I got in 2018. I was really stuck, and I knew that I had to do something. And I went in. I still didn't learn. I came out, and finally, in March 2020, I was stuck. That's the time that I was talking about, suicide. I was really considering that because that's the time that it was hard for me to live because I wasn't living, I was existing. And that's the worst thing that you can do as a human being. So no self-compassion, nothing. So I ended up to spend 3 nights in a casino, and then I came out that day. It was Friday morning. I was going to get some cash, go back there to play again. And I look at myself in one of the doors that's like, it's like my shadow. And I said, do I want to die like this? Is this someplace that I want to go? I need to do something because I was stuck. There's no, for me, I had to stop digging. And that day I stopped digging. I knew that I had to stop. And I ended up to go through a POP, partial hospitalization program, which and it was before pandemic. And but I am grateful for pandemic. Pandemic is something that I don't know if I wasn't in recovery, I could have stayed alive during the pandemic because that was very hard. But for me, it was easy. I became a Zoom gypsy. I probably went to 5-6 day meeting, and I'm very grateful for secular. One of the reasons in 2008, 2009 that I came to the program very shortly, I didn't want to have anything to do with God or anything like that. So I am a pure 100% atheist. I don't believe any of the stuff in Big Daddy out there. And that's one of the things I said that in the beginning, that nothing has lifted from me. I still have to work on it on a daily basis to make sure that I'm not going to fall short of him. And for me, sobriety was a major decision. And once I made that decision, I had to be focused, and I had to make a commitment to my sobriety. And today, one of the gifts of this program has given me be in the moment. For me, being in the moment, that I am not planning for the future, but even at the moment that I'm planning for the future, I am enjoying that moment. And I don't think, if I think about the future, it starts to give me anxiety. It starts to make me uncomfortable. And when I think about the past, as most of you know, it's depression time. And depression, I don't want to be any part of it. So today, my life is it's a full life. I do not want to give it up. I'm not going to go towards any, even my rituals. I don't want to be even close to them. I stay away from them. I don't go to the same streets that I used to go to my corner bar. I just make sure that I don't do it because I know myself. I can be persuaded very quickly. So and those noises between my 2 ears, they are very active these days, particularly during the holidays. And that's the time that I have to do a little bit more work to stay calm, not to do what I am doing. I just want to make sure that I cover as much as I could. And I think I want to thank every one of you to listen to me. It's a privilege to be here. And I want to thank Robert for being kind enough to ask me. And I see lots of friends here. I see Gary, Kenji, Bob, and love every one of you. And guess what? You guys don't have a vote for it. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you.